Everything football, everybody. And happy lunchtime. It's Matt and Jim, and we are here to talk about tonight, Matt. It finally happens. The NFL opens on Friday night. I'm sorry, Thursday night tonight on NBC, and it should be a fun one.
Yeah, the Eagles and the Cowboys, marquee matchup name brand wise, but when you look at these teams up and down both rosters, it feels like like David's going to try to slay Goliath tonight, at least
Mm-hmm.
in terms of the Cowboys going into Lincoln Financial, trying to take down the reigning Super Bowl champion Eagles on banner night.
Mm-hmm.
Feels like a near impossible task.
Well, we know that you know that they will be. One thing about the link is you don't have to worry about crowd noise. They bring it and they're ready. And one of the fiercest and longest rivalries in the NFL as well. And so you got that going for you too. So it's going to be a lot of fun down. Well, for me, up at the bank tonight, they're going to have a lot of fun up there. And you know, I think you really want to see what's going on down there. And Ruth's joining us here in just a second.
Okay.
Um, Ruth, we were just talking about the Cowboys and the Eagles. We haven't quite gotten there yet, but you know, you will jump in here, I'm sure, with what's going on. Let me just go over the game situations for tonight, real quick. Uh, the the game time is 8:20 kickoff. It's on NBC and on Peacock. Our buddy Mike Tirico, Chris Callingsworth, and Melissa Stark have the call. That's your normal, as you all know, your normal Sunday night crew is on hand, and you know it's the Super Bowl champs taking on one of their bitterest rivals. So you got all kinds of fun things going on here tonight. Um, you know, temperature wise, by the way, it's going to be in the 70s for kickoff. It'll be beautiful evening up in Philly, no rain. So that's good too. So from that standpoint, should be a lot of fun in that regard. Um, from a field standpoint, no problems on the field, no rain, no wind, nothing like that. The problem for the Cowboys is the Eagles. That's the problem. Now, one of the things that I've been told in the past, I want to get you guys' you know insight into this is when a team comes off a championship, a Super Bowl, and they play this opening night thing, it it literally, despite the fact that they play big games and all that, these guys get so geeked that sometimes early in the game they make mistakes. And I'm talking about the Eagles in this case. Um, you buy into that, or is that something that we are not buying into right yet?
Uh, so the Super Bowl hangovers are definitely a real thing. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like it's been well documented throughout teams that haven't been able to sustain it.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from Patriots and the Chiefs, really, is these teams talk about coming out there and it's just harder having reached the mountaintop, trying to knowing that you have to go back and climb the mountain again. But I think if there's any team that's going to do it, I feel like the Eagles have the correct DNA. Just at least on the defensive side of the football, the way they were built. Because you look at that depth chart and you see Georgia and you see Alabama, two teams
Yeah.
that did it that have done it at the highest level consistently.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama is where they are now, but the guys that it's primarily made up of are Saban and Smart guys, and so they have the correct mental makeup and DNA to be able to go out there and do it again. Same with Jalen Hurts. I feel like Saquon's not far behind. Devontae Smith was in that same system as well. So these guys know how to sustain success from their days in college. And to be honest with you, the Cowboys have to have just a like they have a very finite way of winning tonight, it feels like, and it's all going to fall on their offensive line.
You know, it's the debut for Brian Schottenheimer
Mm-hmm.
and his father. Marty and I were pretty good friends when Marty was coaching the Cleveland Browns, and then of course he went on to Kansas City, and Brian has been basically a defensive guy, and he's going to have a revamped defense after that trade of Micah Parsons. Dak is healthy. Dak Prescott's healthy. That's a good thing. He's got his basically some pretty good offensive weapons at CeeDee Lamb and his newcomer George Pickens, who came over from the Steelers. I think that's going to help, but I think your point about the defense is going to be an interesting situation for them to overcome, and we'll see how Brian is as a head coach. I mean, he's been served as a coordinator for a number of different teams, so we'll see what that is all about tonight. If Dallas can overcome the really strong situation with the Eagles and they're pretty solid offense. I mean, there's really no weakness on that offense.
Yeah. Well, so the thing with the Eagles and what they do on defense is they're a lot of they the way they built their team and the way Vic Fangio runs his system, they're able to stop the run with a light box.
Right.
And when you're able to do that, even if you have some holes on the back end, it covers up those holes on the back end because you can drop more guys into coverage and feel safe playing those coverages with that lighter box. And it allows them to do so much more schematically than teams who have to, we can't have 5 in the box and stop the run. We have to get that 6th guy in there. We have to get that 7th guy in there, depending on how bad you are against the run. And the Eagles, they don't have to worry about that. The way that front line plays with Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith, all those guys, that's the way when you look back to those 21 and 22 Georgia defenses, that's the way Kirby Smart was successful then, is because he didn't have to have that loaded box. He knew that his guys were going to fit the run correctly, and they were going to be able to stop it with a lighter box. And it's going to create problems because if Dak Prescott has to drop back and throw this thing 50 times, I don't think it's going to be good because the Eagles will then be able to just tee off and no pass is coming, especially with Javonte Williams being the primary back in Dallas.
Welcome, Ruth, to the show. We know that it's been a great day of technical hiccups. That's why you have Avatar Jim here today, and poor Matt is having darkness issues behind him. It's like in that, but that's okay. Everybody's here, and
it actually looks pretty good, Matt. You look like you're just kind of floating, so it actually looks pretty good. I like it.
It is a very Stranger Things kind of thing. So, and those of you who are Netflix fans, you're in comfort. Ruth, we were just talking about the Cowboys and the little thumbnail on the Cowboys and the Eagles starting, and Matt had just brought up the way that Vic Fangio runs his defense, which anybody who's come up against a Vic Fangio defense knows he doesn't make life easy on you.
Yeah. No, I think Dak Prescott definitely has, just like how Matt was mentioning, he cannot sit in the pocket and throw the ball 50, 55 times today. They got to establish the run game early in today's game to have any chance. And then obviously we have to see how that defensive line is going to hold up on the other side of the ball. Are we going to be able to kind of somehow contain Saquon Barkley? Because there's no kind of shutting him down completely, but will we be able to contain him? Because if he goes for 150 yards in tonight's game, it's going to be complicated. So red zone defense is going to be extremely crucial for the defense for the Dallas Cowboys, and just shutting down that run game early or at least containing it.
Let me ask you something, guys. With Saquon Barkley, we just talked about Dallas's front seven. Micah Parsons, we know, is gone. The two key guys here are Kenny Clark and Sam Williams. And will they be able to plug those gaps?
I mean, that's what they brought. I mean, that's all Jerry's been talking about since they acquired him. And, the big reason why they asked for him. They asked for Kenny Clark. People assumed they would have wanted a pass rusher in return. Now they asked for Kenny Clark because they wanted to be better up front, especially in the interior, stopping the run. Is he going to solve all the problems? I don't know, to be honest with you. but it's definitely a step in the right direction if they want to improve that run defense.
Let me
Yeah,
ask
I
you this.
agree.
Mhm.
Go ahead,
Go
Jen.
ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was agreeing with him. I think Jerry Jones made it very obvious in the offseason that they want to improve their run defense, and getting Kenny Clark was maybe not solving the problem immediately, but I think it is in this right step in the right direction for that front seven.
What about Dak coming off his injury? Is there? I know that everybody's been excited that he's done well at camp. Um, over his career, that's been the big knock on Dak is he gets, he doesn't quite end up finishing seasons. He's not getting any younger, and yes, I know he does wonderful, commercials for the mattress company. But at this point in time, uh, can you count on Dak Prescott being healthy for the entire season?
That
It's
I feel like injuries are just kind of such a Dak for the majority of his career has been a relatively healthy guy.
Right.
The injuries are just there's no way. Obviously, you got the guys that are injury prone. I would not put Dak in that category just
Mm-hmm.
yet, based off this one injury alone. But it's also gonna fall on, like I said earlier, the offensive line. Can they keep him upright? Because I can tell you, a number one way to get your quarterback hurt is to let him get hit.
So you don't want that to happen. That is not a good thing. Falls in the bad thing category. Ruth, you are the spokesperson for the Dallas Cowboys. So
Yeah,
make a
definitely been a
case.
lack of there's been a lack of protection when it comes to that offensive line. They haven't been trustworthy, and I think Dak knows that, and that's why you see him escaping the pocket pretty early and trying to make plays on his feet a lot. So, as much as I would love to say that I think Dak Prescott is going to be healthy throughout the season and we can depend on him, I think a lot is going to be said whether or not the offensive line could really step up. And with the departure of Zach Martin, there's a lot of new guys up there, so I'm expecting it to be tough for them, especially going against a defense like the Philadelphia Eagles in the very first week in Philadelphia at that.
Yeah, let me ask you this, guys. From a running standpoint, do they have, and I'm talking now about Dallas, do they have enough in that running game to be, to give Dak that kind of freedom?
I'm iffy on it at best. I would say Javonte Williams just doesn't really move the needle as your running back one.
Mm-hmm.
To be quite frank, he's a guy that's dealt with some injuries as well. He's really good, pre-injuries, and if he can get back to a form such as that, then he has a chance to be a solid running back one. He's not a guy that I'm sprinting to pick up in fantasy by any means or anything like that. But he's going to go out there and you kind of know what you're going to get from him. He's probably maybe once, twice a season, he'll break the 100-yard mark. Aside from that, he may give you somewhere in the 50 to 70 range and maybe a score, which is, it's good enough. It's not going to be anything groundbreaking, but it'll get the job done.
Okay, let me ask you guys about Jalen Hurts. Jalen has basically torched Dallas, okay, on a regular basis last season. What do you think of Trevon Diggs? Is he going to be able to help? Certainly, he's not going to hurt anything in the secondary, but is his, stepping to the forefront here as their top defensive back, is that going to help the Cowboys, hopefully, with a bit of a pass rush, get to Jalen, or is that going to be a problem again for them?
So
Yeah, we need that ball hawk of a player back in Trevon Diggs, and I think he's capable of doing it. We've seen it in seasons past, but I mean, his injuries has also been a problem for him and his availability. So I'm hoping that tonight he could really show out because I mean, he got the bag in the offseason. There was a few players that were demanding big money. They got the big money. Now it's time to play big football.
Okay, let's throw some historical content into this. The Eagles have won their last 11 games at home. The Cowboys are 1-5 as touchdown underdogs in recent primetime games. They are a touchdown underdog tonight, and they're playing at at Lincoln Financial Center at the Link. That does not bode well for Cowboy fans.
No, I mean, I feel like we've talked about it. Just one quick note going back to Trayvon
Sure.
Diggs. He pre-injury, I don't know if maybe philosophy might have changed post-injury, but pre-injury he was an all or nothing corner. So he's going to sell out on those first moves, and that's the way he gets those interceptions, and he's able to turn you over a lot. But he's also susceptible to those double moves. And if the Eagles are able to protect tonight, look out for a double move on the outside. May lead to a big touchdown on Trayvon.
Okay, let's move on. We've got another game, and this is tomorrow night, and that's Chiefs and the Chargers. That's the game in Brazil. What are you guys looking for there? I mean, I'm kind of bullish on the Chargers. I really like what the Chargers are doing. With Jim Harbaugh, and I think they're going to have a good season this year.
The Chargers are going to rely a lot on that offensive side of the football this year.
Mm-hmm.
I welcome to some pushback on that, but they don't look the same defensively. You open up that depth chart, and you're just kind of looking at names. There's Khalil Mack, you see Denzel Perriman, and Derwin James, but there's a young edge rusher they have. I think it's Tui Pelota, who is he was really good last year in his rookie season, and I feel like he has the potential to be a very good player. But aside from that, it's kind of a faceless defense. Can a faceless defense be good? It can at times. Will it be for the Chargers? I don't know if it's going to bode so well for them, especially against Kansas City, and all of the noise in the offseason about how they got manhandled in the Super Bowl. And are the receivers good enough? Well, when you roll the pigskin out there in the regular season, they win football games, and it's gonna be Mahomes versus Herbert. Offense all night long. In my opinion,
I anticipate this being a high-scoring game with these offenses that have a lot to prove. I think this game, I think, is more important for the Chargers than it is for the Chiefs. I think when it comes to the quarterback rooms, I think Justin Herbert definitely has more to prove. And even if this is a disappointing performance by Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, I don't think people are going to be running to say that the Chiefs are coming apart. But this has more to do with how the Chargers can bounce back from Justin Herbert throwing 4 interceptions in their last playoff game. So I think there's a lot more pressure on Justin Herbert to perform well. Especially neither team has home field advantage, so we'll see.
Well, the thing too is Mahomes has Xavier Worthy, Travis Kelce, Hollywood Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, Noah Gray. There's a lot of weapons on that side of the ball for the Chiefs.
The Chargers, I think in the receiver room might be their biggest issue. Some people may point to the running back room, but I really like what they did in the offseason, drafting a Marion Hampton out of North Carolina. He was fantastic in North Carolina when he got the carries and had the line. Obviously, they've got some issues on the Chargers' offensive line as well. With the injury to Rashawn Slater coming into the season, that's less than ideal. But when Justin Herbert throws the football, and I can't remember what the stat is exactly, but there is one out there that backs this up. When Justin Herbert throws the football, the Chargers win. And when they stick to the run game, their record isn't nearly as good.
Well, to your point, Justin Herbert last year had a touchdown to interception ratio of 23.3, which was the best in the NFL. So turnovers from that standpoint are going to be hard to come by from Kansas City because he knows where to throw it into the stands and not into the middle of the field.
Mm-hmm.
His number one priority, though, is basically taking a look at where safeties Brian Cook and Jaden Hicks are on the field, because that could be a slight problem with it.
Yeah, just throw away from Trent McDuffie.
Yeah.
That'll help.
Pretty good plan. I think that game plan is a solid one. So you know, I can see the Chiefs getting getting into scoring a lot of points because let's be honest, the Chiefs did give up points last year, uh, but let's take a look at the running back room. Najee Harris, of course, used to be with the Steelers. On Hampton, um, Jim Harbaugh likes to do run to pass. The old adage: if you can run the ball, then that gives you a play action pass to make it work. We'll have to see how that works out because the linebackers Nick Bolton and Drew Truckle from Kansas City are very good in coverage, and we'll see if they can use the tight ends because he likes to play two tight end offense too. So it's going to be an interesting game tomorrow night down in Brazil.
Spagnola knows how to make you feel uncomfortable too.
Yes,
He's absolutely
he's made a career of it.
one of the best, so of all time.
All right, here's what we're going. Here's my how the Chiefs can beat the Chargers, and then how the Chargers can beat the Chiefs, and you guys can give me yours. Okay, Chiefs beating Chargers is everybody's going to I'm sure write this down and put it in on stone afterwards. Give Mahomes a clean pocket. Keep him from getting clobbered. Which he had his fair share of tackles last year when he got out in space. Normally he gets away from him, but the offensive line didn't help him a lot last year in that regard. They got to dominate both sides of the ball. They got to win in the trenches and basically contain Ladd McConnelly. If they can do that, they get a good chance of the Chargers. Now, let's flip side, Chargers versus Chiefs. 100% for the Chargers, they got to protect the ball.
Mhm.
They got to be able to run the ball, and then it's basically their speed. Basically, their speed guys, Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown, they have to shut those guys down if at all possible. And by the way, I'll throw a prediction out here, and then you guys can follow on all that. Um, I think the Chiefs are going to win the game. It's going to be 24-17. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is your turn to step up and say what you wish about Chiefs, how they beat the Chargers, and Chargers how they beat the Chiefs, and give me a score.
So for the Chargers, I'll go back to what I said just a few minutes ago. Is they've got to throw the football, right? They have to. You can't lean on the running game. Kansas City's weakness is in their secondary when it comes to the defense right now. And Justin Herbert has one of the most electric arms. He makes good decisions when he does throw. Let Justin Herbert throw the football. Now, can the receivers catch the passes? You got an aging Keenan Allen and a Quentin Johnston who has not been able to hold on to the football yet somehow still has a starting job in the NFL is beyond me to go along with Ladd McConkey. They're going to put 22 on Ladd all night. I don't know why they would do anything different. He's far and away their best option and the difference maker on that offense. So will they be able to throw the ball, and will they be able to throw the ball successfully? On the flip side for the Chiefs, can they run the football on offense? It didn't feel like they were able to do a whole lot of that last year. Pacheco's back healthy, and it will help exponentially in their passing game and set up, be able to kind of flip the script. You said Jim Harbaugh likes to run to set up the pass.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see that's kind of what I want to see out of Kansas City. I want the run to set up the pass for Kansas City because those playmakers on the outside aren't the same thing that they've been in the past. But it hasn't stopped them up until now, and I don't anticipate them stopping it now, to be honest with you, because that Chargers defense, as I said, it's not really a great unit, at least on paper. And they're going to have the ability to expose, especially that back end of that defense, and probable lack of pass rush that they'll have. Also, prediction would be Chiefs 27, Chargers 17.
Okay. You're up, Ruth.
All right. How did the Chiefs find success in Brazil? I would say the most important thing would be to keep Patrick Mahomes protected. Let him be comfortable in that pocket. Let him throw the pigskin, and just try to put up points. Travis Kelsey is going to be that cushion for him throughout the game. They have elite wide receivers, so a lot of offense. Keep the offense on the field, I think, would be the most important thing for the Chiefs. When it comes to the Chargers, I'll kind of piggyback off of what Matt said. I think it's important to allow Justin Herbert to kind of command that offense. I don't think you could lean on too much on that run game. I think he's going to be needing to throw the ball a lot. My score prediction would be, I think this is going to be a pretty high scoring game on both sides, but I would give the Kansas City Chiefs the edge. We'll say 34-31.
Okay. We're moving to the college ranks for tomorrow night, and that is Louisville versus James Madison. Louisville came out of the blocks looking pretty good, guys. Of course, they were against an FCS foe. They beat Eastern Kentucky by a score of 51-17. It's the old joke: if you had 40 points and the Louisville Cardinals, you won. You won that game. But now, they're welcoming to L&N Stadium a team that has really been on the rise, and they are the Sun Belt favorites. They have James Madison, and that game is 7:00 tomorrow night on ESPN. Let's talk about the Cardinal. A lot of people are not paying attention to them, but Louisville's got enough firepower to be a force in the ACC.
Louisville on offense, they start with their running back Isaac Brown. He was fantastic last season. I think he ran for over 1,100 yards, and he was fantastic again in week 1. I think he ran for 153 and 2 scores. Where they have to be careful is I haven't gone back and watched the film, or let me rephrase this, the replay of these two plays in particular. But Miller Moss threw 2 interceptions against Eastern Kentucky. I don't know if if they were bad decisions or they were just kind of luck of the draw interceptions, because sometimes those happen. But if they're results of poor decisions, you can't have consistent poor decision making against this James Madison defense. They will make you pay. This spread is inside of 2 touchdowns for a reason, and that's because odds makers, they understand who James Madison is, and they kind of make a living off of, poor old James Madison's coming in here against this Power 4 opponent. Whatever will they do? They destroyed North Carolina last year.
I think that playing football at Louisville it's a tough situation. They've really done a very good job of making it difficult for teams not for visiting teams to be comfortable at Louisville. I like James Madison. I really do. I think that they have proven that they've been able to play against anybody. Doesn't mean they're going to beat everybody, but they're very seldom at all embarrassed, and I think that's really where things go. I'm kind of interested in the quarterback spot, with USC quarterback, former USC quarterback, I should say, Miller Moss, and he looked good against Eastern Kentucky, but it is Eastern Kentucky, so we'll have to see how that plays out.
Mm-hmm. And James Madison brought back their quarterback from last year, Alonzo Barnett, and I mean he's a baller too. He played well last week against whoever James Madison played. I went and looked up his stats, and his completion percentage was fantastic. He threw for a couple touchdowns, no picks, no turnovers. He's a dual threat guy. He can get it done, through the ground or through the air. And so ultimately, how does Jeff Brom game plan for that? He's been a fantastic coach everywhere he's gone, and I think that he's going to have similar results at Louisville. But this is just that classic, it's smaller brand opponent on a Friday night, not a Saturday. Shorter week can always mess with people. And so, how does Louisville handle that?
Well, I think part of the problem with Louisville that they're going to have is I don't think they're going to be able to throw on James Madison. I think they're going to have to run the ball. If they have to throw the ball more north of 30 times, uh, that means James Madison's having a good night.
Which is definitely how James Madison's going to have game planned and want to attack Louisville, because they want to stop Isaac Brown before he gets going.
So it's going to be a fun night, and there's going to be, as I said, that used to be the funny thing about Louisville is that stadium used to be Papa John's Stadium, and now they've got a new sponsor. They built it out. It used to hold like 40,000. Now it holds close to 60,000 people. Louisville is done. They've done a lot to really upgrade their football program. I mean, we all know Louisville from their basketball, but Louisville's done an awful lot, and and I think that brings to something that we all talked about yesterday, is the ACC really does have some solid balance there. It's not just the top of the heap being FSU and Clemson, and those guys. I think that there's more to be said coming up. And by the way, I got some interesting feedback yesterday from our buddies down in Baylor when we talked about Baylor and SMU. So people, people all around the country are more than happy to weigh in when they think that we're wrong on something. So that's okay. We're here. We can take it. We have fun with it. And tonight, we'll have to see. It's an exciting season. Real quick, early prediction, guys. Will we see the Chiefs in the Super Bowl this season?
No.
Not forcing you to pick anybody to saying this is going to be the team that's going, but are we going to see the Kansas City Chiefs, who seem to have found a home in the Super Bowl? Are we going to see them there this season?
No.
We've seen them in the Super Bowl, 5 times in the last 7 years?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's hard from what we've been able to see them accomplish and how they've been able to climb to that top of the mountain 5 times in the last 7 years. I think it would be hard to say that we don't expect, well, in my opinion, it'd be hard to say we don't expect the Chiefs to be in the Super Bowl again, but it would be nice to see someone else. It would be nice to see a Buffalo Bills or the Baltimore Ravens or a team of that nature, but I think I would be biting myself later on if I were to say that Chiefs are not going to the Super Bowl again this year.
Matthew?
I say no. Baltimore, top to bottom roster wise, I think is the best team in the AFC. It's not exactly close. They're better defensively, they're better offensively, all the way around. Unless Derrick Henry takes some massive fall off a cliff that I don't see coming. Because he's looked, despite the age and the mileage, he's looked every bit like the back that he's always been. And so I don't know why anything would be subject to change. But if you get into the playoffs and somehow you're looking up, Chiefs have home field advantage again, then that's maybe a place where I can take that back, because it's hard to beat them in Arrowhead.
Well, I was in the press box at M&T Bank Stadium last year and saw a guy who, without question, over the past, I would say 5 or 6 seasons, has been about as consistent a pass catcher as you can find. And Mark Andrews dropped the ball, which could have very easily put, the Ravens in the Super Bowl. 9 times out of 10, he's going to catch that pass. But for him, unfortunately, he didn't. And for the Ravens, unfortunately, they didn't. And Kansas City moves on. So I kind of think that this is a season that if Josh Allen's going to do it for Buffalo, it's got to be now. If the Ravens are going to do it, then damn it, do it and get it over with. But I'm not saying that look, Kansas City plays, and Andy Reid and that whole group, they're always going to be ready. They're always going to be prepared. But they've won they've gone to the Super Bowl 2 consecutive years with a roster that isn't anywhere near as good as Buffalo and Baltimore, but they're still there. And so, it's time. It's time for Josh Allen and it's time for Lamar Jackson and the gang to step up, because I think these two teams have every reason to feel like they can make it to the Super Bowl. They just got to get past Kansas City, and for some reason, which I can't explain, they can't seem to to do it. So hopefully, I think this is the year Kansas City doesn't go. Now, who's going to take their place at this point
Yeah.
in time? I'm not ready to make that prediction, but I will say I just don't. I think this is the year that somebody in that division, in that conference, finds a way to make it to the Super Bowl that isn't wearing red and white.
I have a question though. If it comes to the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens, what roster at this standpoint, health wise and everything, which roster has the better chance to take the Kansas City Chiefs down in the AFC game? Would it be the Baltimore Ravens or would it be the Buffalo Bills? Who would
Matt,
you put? Who would you put your money on? Who would you put your money on?
Matt, I'll give you first.
Baltimore. At least, if we're talking about having to go play an unfun game, then if they get Buffalo before the AFC Championship game, then maybe Buffalo's the one that gets them first. Just because of it, I feel like it's harder to play in Buffalo than it is to play in Baltimore, just purely weather-wise. But they kind of, they beat them anyways last year, despite that. But it's Baltimore. They're better defensively than Buffalo is, and I quite frankly think that they're better offensively than Buffalo is as well.
I'd say Buffalo. I'm sorry. I'm saying Baltimore. Get my B's mixed up there. I say Baltimore for experience and depth of roster. They have a much deeper roster than Buffalo does, which is not to say Buffalo isn't a good football team. It just means that they can turn around and look, and they're not really missing anybody at any position. This is a solid Ravens football team that really. They can look down the roster of 53 guys, and there's not any particular hole there. It's going to be an interesting thing, though, and it's not. It's going to be interesting only because it's something that we've never really seen, at least in the last 5 or 6 years for Baltimore, and that is there's no Justin Tucker this time, and Justin Tucker is gone, and they've got a new kicker, and he's doing really well. Sorry to say I can't remember his name, but I'll look up the depth chart here in a little bit. But I do think that Kansas City won a lot of really close games last year, as did Baltimore. But I think without question, Baltimore does have the better top to bottom 53-man roster. But Buffalo ain't far behind, as the old saying goes.
Tyler Loop is the name of the rookie successor that is stepping in
that.
for Justin
Our research department. Ruth comes through with our research department. Thank you. Greatly appreciate it. So,
I do think it's an important note to say that is, at least last year, you didn't have the same Justin Tucker of the past.
True.
So, they won games kind of at times in spite of Justin Tucker.
Right. True.
Wasn't his longest was it 64 yards? 64 yards was his longest?
Yeah, I think that was when they played Detroit.
Yeah. 64 yards.
That was at Ford Field. The one other last parting shot as we get out of here, guys. Real quick question. And we may not know the answer to it, but is Mr. Rogers' neighborhood in Pittsburgh going to be a fun neighborhood to be in this year, or is it going to be one of those places where you want to stay away from Mr. Rogers' neighborhood?
Well, I I struggle because in the offseason, as I watched them make their moves, it felt like, they were trying to be, the home for misfit stars. I've used a similar analogy before, but they're bringing in all these guys kind of on the backside of their career. And, they trade away George Pickens after they acquired DK Metcalf. Okay, that didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. You got one weapon, got rid of another. They locked up Jalen Warren long term. They got out of the Najee Harris situation, which just felt like it'd been going downhill for a while. But now you're pairing one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL of all time. He's got multiple MVP awards. He's won a Super Bowl before, and Aaron Rodgers, and a coach that doesn't go below 500. There's a lot to not like, but when you just pair those two aspects together, it feels like, okay, he's not going to go out there and he's not going to make the mistakes, that maybe a younger, like a Mason Rudolph has made in the past. And, Russell Wilson looked just horrible on the back half of that season last year. And they didn't feel comfortable enough going back to Justin Fields either. But they've got the guy and they feel comfortable. And as long as he stays healthy for the full 17 games, then I think you're probably, you're in a place where you're like, well, look at the division they're in. How are they in this spot? But, they are, just because that's what Mike Tomlin does, is he wins.
Ruth, any thoughts on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood?
Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I love that. I think it was interesting that throughout the week in training, in practice, Rogers was kind of avoiding speculating or speaking against going against his former team in week one. I think he just kept trying to emphasize that, hey, it's week one. It's just a regular football game. There's no narrative behind facing the New York Jets. But when it comes to the totality of Aaron Rodgers, obviously he's one of the greatest to ever do it. But he is 41 years old, coming off an Achilles injury. So I don't know what this is going to shake out to be now that he is in the black and yellow, as being in this organization that doesn't go below 500. There are a lot of high expectations. And as long as he could stay healthy, we'll see. But I don't really know if the Aaron Rodgers we're going to get now is going to be anything close to what we've seen in previous years. Just getting closer to that age of, and I want to know, like, do you gentlemen think that this could possibly be Rodgers' final NFL season as a quarterback?
I think I would be surprised if it wasn't.
I agree. I think that would be it. By the way, for those of you, as I'm trying to be funny here with the Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood situation, Mr. Rogers, Fred Rogers, who, of course, was Mr. Rogers, lived in Squirrel Hill, which is a section of Pittsburgh. And Squirrel Hill is exactly 2.7 miles from the stadium in Pittsburgh, and he would often be seen in his cardigan sweater, sitting there in the stands watching football games of his Steelers. And so there's a new Mr. Rogers in town. I do not believe he lives in Squirrel Hill, but he definitely has taken over the neighborhood, and we'll see. One of the things, guys, about Mike Tomlin, and Mike's a good guy. He just doesn't like rookie quarterbacks. I have no idea why, but that's not his MO. He will not play a rookie quarterback. And Justin Fields could have just as easily, Justin Fields was 4-2 when Russ took over. And the hook, there are a lot of coaches who were taking that hook and said, okay, Russ, you're just not doing it, buddy. Let's put Justin back on the field.
I think it's important to remember that he started 4-2, but Russell Wilson got him to 10-3 as well.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that I wouldn't have kept Russell, and might have kept Justin Fields, but from the moment the season ended, I have a feeling that Mike Tomlin he was hell bent on getting Aaron Rodgers. I mean, that was obvious. and whatever they had to do to get him, and they were going to go and get him. So we'll have to see. But
I also like Will Howard being able to go there and kind of sit and learn for a year.
yeah, I like Bill Howard a lot. I
Yeah.
think he's going to be a good quarterback, and he does get to sit. He doesn't, as a matter of fact, he's not even going to be active because of the injury he had. So he's the number 3 quarterback, and no, I think that's a very good observation. I think that they're going to be a lot of fun to see, and I think that with Aaron Rodgers, they might surprise some people. I don't think that certainly I think they can be a playoff team. Can they beat Baltimore? That's going to be a tough slug, but those Baltimore and Pittsburgh games are always fun to watch.
And Aaron Rodgers, I think himself made a lot about the work that he got in the offseason with DK Metcalf, just making sure he got on the right page with him going into the season. Talked about a little bit of a different work ethic than he's had the last couple of years when it comes to the receivers he's been with.
Right. Well, and you cannot find a more stable organization than the Pittsburgh Steelers, who from 1969 until today have had 3 head coaches.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Did you say 3 head coaches since 1969?
Chuck Noll, followed by Bill Cowher, followed by the man that stands there on the sidelines right now.
That's incredible.
That is what you call consistency.
Consistency, yeah.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, they have, I think, if we go back to Bill Cowher, I think they've only had 2 losing seasons since Cowher came on board and replaced Noll. So you want to talk about stability? That's about as
that is quite the pedigree right there.
Yeah. All right, guys. Any final thoughts before we move out of here on a?
Wait. I don't know if I missed this since
ahead.
I came in a few minutes late. But did you guys have a score prediction on tonight's game?
Oh, we did not.
Okay, what is the score predictions? Because I'm writing down our predictions so we could discuss this later on in the future shows. So I got the Chiefs and Chargers for all of us, but now I want to hear score predictions on tonight's game as the Philadelphia Eagles, the reigning Super Bowl champs, are hosting the Dallas Cowboys tonight.
Matt, you want to go first?
Go ahead, Maddie.
34-21 Eagles win.
34-21. Okay.
35-17 Eagles.
Harsh.
Sorry.
You're being realistic. Okay, I say Philly. I say Philly 28. Dallas Cowboys with the upset 31.
Oh, you say okay,
wishful thinking.
The Cowboys upset them 30. What was it? 31 to
31-28.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stranger things have happened. Now, I wouldn't want to be the Cowboys trying to get out of Philadelphia if that happened, but
yeah, true.
But,
very true.
But
I had an opportunity to go to that stadium a couple years back as a Dallas Cowboys fan, but I was warned by multiple people that would not be a good idea. So I decided to go see the Dallas Cowboys when they played Washington, which was a much safer place to be in all Dallas gear.
Yeah, it's especially a couple of years ago in Washington, there probably were more Cowboy fans there than there were Commander fans.
There actually was. It was an overwhelming number of navy blue in the stands for sure.
Well, things have changed. So from the Commander's point of view. But anyway, well, guys, it's been fun. And tomorrow class, we're not going to be talking about Mr. Rogers, but we have an entire slate of amazing college football coming up, and we have the first weekend of the NFL. So we got a jam-packed opportunity to sit down and have some fun talking about what's going on Saturday and what's going on Sunday. So lots of fun going on tomorrow. So until tomorrow, for Matthew, Ruth, and me, enjoy your day, and if you get a chance, visit Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. It's a very nice place to go. All right, everybody, take care. Wait a minute before we get out of here. We got 2 comments. Questions. All right. Dallas Goddard, big tonight. This is what Mike says. Mike says 32-17 Eagles. And he says Dallas Goddard has a big night going over 100 yards. All right, Mike. We agree, we appreciate the thought. And, Eagles 34-17, not a bad guess. And Dallas Goddard having a big night. We'll see. But thanks for the questions. All right, gang. Have a lovely day. Any final thoughts from you guys?
Go Dallas.
Go Dallas. Okay. Matt?
I do like the Dallas Goddard going for a big night pick. That Cowboy linebacker room leaves something to be desired.
Okay. There you go, boys and girls. All right. Eagles and the Cowboys tonight, 8 o'clock. Our buddy Mike Tirico on the call with Chris Collingsworth and Melissa Stark on the sidelines on NBC, and also streaming on Peacock. So that gets underway at 8 p.m. And we will be back tomorrow around noon. Bring your lunch and enjoy your lunch with us. Until then, everybody, for Matthew, for Ruth, and myself, have a great day.